Nobody opens a bucket expecting to find nothing usable inside. You bought the rice. You sealed the lid. You put it in the garage or the basement or the back of a closet and moved on with your life. Months later, you open it. The bag has a small hole near the bottom. There are droppings inside the bucket. A fine dust coats everything. The rice is not gone. It is contaminated. 50 pounds of food you already paid for, already stored, already counted on, and none of it is safe to eat. Not because the supply chain failed. Not because prices spiked. Because something chewed through the one thing you trusted to protect it. Here's what almost nobody talks about. The container is the preparation. The food is just the input. 7 bulk staples nearly every household stores the same way. All of them vulnerable. Most of them already at risk. Rice is the default. It's the first thing most people buy when they decide to store food in bulk. 25 or 50-pound bags, sealed into plastic buckets, stacked in a garage or basement. It feels like a solid foundation. And for the first few weeks, it is. The problem isn't the food, it's the signal the food sends. Rice has a detectable scent profile that travels through standard plastic, not to you, to rodents. They don't need a gap in the lid or a crack in the wall. They chew directly through the bucket. A determined mouse can gnaw through a standard 5-gallon plastic container in a single night. Once inside, the damage isn't limited to what they eat. Droppings, urine, and nesting debris contaminate the entire contents. 50 pounds of rice isn't 50 pounds of meals anymore. It's waste. The loss isn't one dinner. It's months of stored calories, gone in a single breach you didn't know happened until you opened the lid. Rodents do not need to eat much to destroy a lot. That distinction matters more than most people realize. A single mouse consumes roughly 3 to 4 grams of food per day, almost nothing. But contamination does not follow consumption. It follows contact. Flour is where this becomes most visible. Its fine, powdery texture means that once a rodent enters the container, every particle shifts. Droppings mix in. Urine is absorbed. There is no cutting away the damaged section the way you might with a block of cheese or a solid grain. The entire supply is compromised from the moment of entry. And flour offers one additional vulnerability that rice does not. Once the seal is broken at a gnaw point, moisture enters. Within days, that moisture invites mold and insects. A single breach becomes a compound failure, not one problem, but 3, layered on top of each other inside a container you have not opened in months. The food did not disappear, it became something you cannot use. Rodents are not random. They follow a scent hierarchy, and the foods with the strongest odor profiles draw them first. Oats rank near the top. Their earthy, grain-dense smell permeates standard plastic easily, and their loose texture makes them simple to access once a rodent is inside. A chewed corner of a bag is enough. Dried beans create a different kind of false confidence. The beans themselves are hard. They feel durable. People assume that hardness protects them. It does not. Rodents do not chew through the bean. They chew through the container to reach the bean. Once inside, the contamination is the same as for every other item on this list. Droppings, urine, and nesting material spread through the entire batch. There is a common belief that double bagging inside a plastic bucket adds meaningful protection. 2 layers of plastic do not equal 1 layer of a proper barrier. They are 2 layers of the same failure. The thickness changes, the vulnerability does not. Pasta is easy to overlook because the loss does not look dramatic. There is no obvious hole, no shredded bag. You open the container and there is simply less than you remember. That is the signature of caching behavior. Rodents do not just eat in place, they carry food away piece by piece, building supply lines to nesting sites nearby. It starts with a small entry point, sometimes barely visible, and continues with a slow, steady removal you will not notice until the quantity no longer matches what you stored. Sugar operates on a different mechanism, but it produces the same outcome. Its scent attracts rodents, and once the container is breached, it attracts insects at the same time. A single point of entry becomes a compound infestation. Rodents and insects feed and contaminate in parallel. Both items sit in nearly every household that buys in bulk. Both are stored in plastic almost without exception, and both disappear or degrade through the same preventable failure that no one checks until it is already too late. Powdered milk is the item people check least. It's a backup. It sits behind the rice, behind the beans, behind everything that gets rotated first. Months pass, sometimes a year. When someone finally reaches for it, the container has already been compromised. The loss is total, and the discovery comes far too late to matter. Protein powders follow the same pattern. High calorie, high scent, stored long term, inspected almost never. They are the perfect target for exactly the reasons they were stored in the first place. Durable, nutrient-dense, and forgotten. Every one of the 7 items on this list shares a single root cause. Not the food, not the location, not the climate. The container. Plastic buckets, plastic bags, plastic snap lids. Every one of them penetrable. Every one of them treated as though they are not. The food did not fail you. The storage did. And that distinction is the difference between preparation and the appearance of preparation. Here is what fails. Standard plastic buckets, even food-grade ones, are not rodent-proof. Given enough time and motivation, a mouse will chew through the wall. The thicker the plastic, the longer it takes. But the outcome is the same. Here is what does not fail. Mylar bags sealed inside rigid containers block scent, block moisture, and resist gnawing in a way plastic alone never will. Add oxygen absorbers and you eliminate the internal environment that insects and bacteria need to survive. The food inside enters a kind of suspension. No scent escapes, no air degrades, no entry point is available. Metal containers, ammo cans, steel bins are fully rodent-proof. They are heavier and more expensive, but nothing is chewing through steel. For most households, the practical middle ground is Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers inside food-grade buckets. The bucket provides structure. The Mylar provides the actual barrier. Together they do what plastic alone pretends to. The cost is pennies per pound of food protected. The cost of skipping it is the food itself. The supplies are available now. The prices are still manageable. Neither of those things is guaranteed to stay true. Bulk staple prices have moved in one direction for 3 consecutive years. Replacing 50 pounds of rice costs more today than it did 12 months ago. Replacing it next year will cost more again. Every pound lost to preventable contamination is a pound repurchased at a higher price. Rodent pressure follows a seasonal cycle. Fall and winter drive them indoors toward warmth and toward food sources. The window to repackage is not after you find the damage, it is before the season that causes it. Mylar bags and oxygen absorbers are niche items. During demand spikes, hurricane season, and economic uncertainty, they sell out the same way batteries and fuel canisters do, quietly and completely. Most people who lose stored food to rodents did not lack the knowledge. They had the information and delayed the action. The cost of waiting is not measured in dollars. It is measured in food you already paid for, already stored, and already lost. Buying bulk food is step 1. Most people never take step 2. They seal the lid and call it done. But the lid was never the protection. Every item on this list was affordable, available, and stored with good intentions, and every one of them is vulnerable to the same single failure that takes less than 1 afternoon to fix. 1 session. Mylar bags, oxygen absorbers, and a heat sealer. That is the barrier between food that lasts and food that becomes waste before you ever reach for it. The container is the preparation. The food is just what goes inside it. 7 bulk staples sitting in plastic right now in millions of homes. All of them exposed. All of them fixable. The only question is whether you repackage before the season turns, or whether you open the lid 6 months from now and find out you waited too long. Which of these 7 are in plastic in your house right now? Drop it in the comments.